Welcome to the WRAL Daily Download. I'm Elizabeth Holmes. A Morrisville gymnastics team is heading into the new year with an impressive finish in a world competition. Grace Gymnastics Academy took home 5th place last month in Bulgaria when they competed at the International Federation of Aesthetic Group Gymnastics World Championships. You may have seen the team's appearance in our WRAL Super Kids segment earlier this month. WRAL's Grace Holland visited the studio and learned about the unique community that's come together there. Grace, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So what made you want to tell this story?
Well, we had heard about them winning the competition, and we had put something on our website about it. And then about a week later, our morning reporter, Kelsey Coffey, called me and she was like, I have this story. I think it would be great. And she was like, you know how we ran something about this gymnastics team? She was like, well, I think there's more to it. They just came back this week. This would have been early December. They just came back from Bulgaria after winning this competition. There's just an interesting, like you said in the intro, an interesting community here because there's a lot of ties to Eastern Europe among the girls that are on the team, and then also the owner of the gym is Russian herself. So she was like, I think there's, kind of a cool community that they've built here, and it would just be fun to sort of highlight that. So that's sort of was her pitch to me, and then our 7 p.m. producer was wanting to feature them on Super Kids. So I was like, okay, well, let's go out there. And one of the parents was in contact with Kelsey, and she helped coordinate everything and figure out a good time for me to come by.
I love that. And it's always a cool opportunity to highlight cool kids doing cool things.
Yes, that's why I love that segment so much.
Yeah, it's great. So for people who don't know, how would you describe aesthetic gymnastics?
Mm-hmm. Right. This is different from what you usually see in the Olympics. It's different from rhythmic gymnastics. It's not the one that, Simone Biles does. Artistic gymnastics. So aesthetic gymnastics is sort of in the middle, I think you could say. I actually asked this question to the girls that are on the team.
What do you say, like when your friends at school ask you about it, like how do you explain, like, the difference between aesthetic gymnastics and some of the other types of gymnastics?
When I say gymnastics, they usually assume artistic gymnastics, and I just tell them, like, if I want to be short, I just say it's floor, but then I go into greater detail saying it's with ballet and dance, and it's in a group.
The key difference is that there are about 4 to 14 gymnasts on the floor at any time. So this is really a team effort. It's, they're all... It honestly, like when I looked at it, it reminded me a lot of like cheer competitions in the way that sort of movements and everything, like the patterns, I guess, on the floor. You're more of a dancer or like in this world than I am, so I'm not great at explaining it. But yeah, it just the way that it looks when you're watching it sort of reminded me of that. But it's, not, this version is not in the Olympics, but it is a growing sport in the U.S.
That's really cool, and definitely sounds like, a competition that I might have seen before. So I'm super interested in this coming from a dance background. So obviously they went to Bulgaria. That's super cool. Where else has this team competed?
All over the place. When I visited the gym, the girls had all these medals that they spread out on the floor, and so I sat them down and I was like, okay, just like tell me, where are all of these from? And they started going through, and it's impossible to list all of the places. It's really incredible. I mean, these girls are all around like 10 to like 16-ish in that age range. And they've been all over the place. Competitions, not just in the U.S., but they've also been to Canada for several competitions. And then this competition in Bulgaria is not the first time that they've gone international. It was the best place that they've had. So that's exciting because I think it shows a lot of progress in their work that they've been doing over the years to get to this point. Yeah, they've just got to travel, and they talked about, what their favorite parts were of traveling. And most of it is meeting other gymnasts and other teams. And they just, build such cool relationships and learn about the world in such a cool way, which I think any sport can do for a kid, can really open up the world, but them particularly have really gotten that opportunity. I actually asked one of the girls about when they went to Bulgaria. I asked her what her favorite part was, and she was like, Well, one girl was like, oh, we went to this mall and like it was cool to see what that was like in another country. And then this other girl was like, I really like this spa that we went to. And it was so cute. She was like, it was so comfortable. Like, it was nice to relax, which I'm sure as much training as they do, it probably was. And she said there was like a training room in the back and they got to meet, you know, some of the teams that they were competing against. They got to meet them in like a more relaxed setting, which was nice. So just like some really unique experiences these girls are getting.
That's amazing. We'll be right back. All right, we're back. So, Grace, who coaches this team? Who's leading all of this?
Right. So, as I mentioned, the owner of the gym, she is originally from Russia. Her name is Olga Bogdan. I talked to her as well when I visited the studio. Now, this studio, it's in Morrisville. It's sort of in like a shopping center with a lot of different kinds of businesses, sort of tucked away. And then when you come in, it's a smaller studio, but there's just so much good energy with these girls that she works with. She told me about how she started this gym when she first came to the U.S.
I came to the U.S. in September 2016 with limited English and no understanding of American business. And after that, in December, I had the courage to open Grace Gymnastics Academy. Grace is our name because it reflects how we choose to train, compete, and most importantly, treat each other. Athletic group gymnastics, it's a beautiful team sport where every movement depends on unity, musicality, and team trust.
How did you get into it yourself?
Yeah, I studied group gymnastics, this sport in my blood since childhood. And I think coaching, it's about giving young girls courage and confidence.
And it's grown over the years. A couple of the girls that are on the team have been with her since the very beginning, since 2016. They were little girls, like 4 and 5 years old when they started, and now they're teenagers and, you know, getting to travel to all these amazing places. And she's also, I think she said she started with maybe a handful of girls, maybe like 5 or 6, and now she's got about 60 girls that are learning from her total. And then also, in addition to that, in 2022, she brought on a choreographer named Natalia. Natalia is originally from Ukraine and worked in the sport for years there.
Yeah, I'm coaching 15 years. I'm coaching rhythmic gymnastics, and after this I started group gymnastics.
And then when the war broke out, it was actually Olga who brought her over to the U.S. to continue to work.
I come in US in 2022. Olga invited me to come here and work in Grace Gymnastics Academy with girls to improve AGG program. It's a really great sport. It's teamwork. In the United States, it's only starts the sport when I come, and we want to improve the sport in the United States of America.
Something that I think is really interesting with this story, it seems like a lot of the people who are involved are from Eastern European heritage. You mentioned Russia, you mentioned Ukraine. That's especially eye-catching considering the ongoing war. So do all the families kind of come from a background like that?
No, and that's what's also really interesting. I think that especially when it was starting, like the girls who one of the girls who's been there since the beginning, she told me, you know, her mom had found out about the studio, learned that Olga spoke Russian and thought, oh, this is a really great way for my daughter to do a sport and also stay in touch with the language, you know. And so there's a lot of that.
I guess this is part of the reason why I still can speak Russian, since I go to an English school and most of the time I'm speaking English. I feel like this has also helped me stay with the culture and the language.
And then what's so interesting is there's a couple of girls who absolutely do not come from Eastern European backgrounds. And so they've had to learn, because the thing is, Olga and Natalia both teach in Russian. When they're coaching and, you know, learning routines, they are speaking it all in Russian. And so the girls had to pick it up, and that kind of helped the girls who don't have that background, don't have that language. to get to know the girls who do, because they kind of had to help each other. And so there's been a lot of friendships formed from that are really beautiful.
So I actually know a little bit of Russian because like sometimes they trick me. Sometimes my teammates prank me, but it always ends in laughter. It's really fun to learn Russian. I know a couple of words and I like saying those words. It's really fun.
She could do like an 8 count in Russian, which is just so cool. Like it's just such a unique language skill set to have. And for the kids that do have Eastern European heritage, it's been a really nice way, it sounds like, for them to stay in touch with that.
I love that. That's amazing. So obviously they just came back from this incredible competition in Bulgaria. What are their plans for the new year, for 2026?
Well, they have a lot of big plans. So first of all, the competition that you mentioned at the top, the one that they went to in Bulgaria, so that is going to be in Japan next year. And they do plan to go. That's going to be in the fall. But in the beginning of the year, so I think April, they're going to go to France as well. So it's 2 big international trips that these girls are going to be undertaking. And I'm sure a lot of other great performances in between there as well.
That's amazing. So not only are they getting, just some incredible physical ability, they're learning a language and they're literally traveling the world.
Yeah, I know. It's a dream, right?
That is a dream. Well, Grace, thanks for sharing the story with us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And thanks for listening to this podcast. Remember, you can always find WRAL's Daily Download on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts. Be sure to follow the show so you don't miss an episode.